So let me show you some things. Okay. So this is gonna be this is your main Tarkov screen, right? So
Right, right, yeah.
there's a few things I want to go over here, right? So first thing I want to do is how you play the game. Say for Tarkov, you know this. You go into a game. This is your
Right.
player character, your main character. Okay, he's gonna have all the gear you have on the left side in your inventory. We'll go to that in a second. Okay, this is what you get. This is what you bring in. He's your main character. He gains experience. He gains levels. He gains more, and he increases his skills. This is what's called soft skills. Okay, this is everything from strength to endurance to even recoil control. So the more you do things, the more your better your character gets at it, and you can even hear better and do things like that. Walk more silently.
Okay.
Um, Tarkov is an RPG, almost an MMO, based off how many players play the game. Although you don't interact with all that many players while playing, you interact mostly with scavs. You'll come across a few players in your travels. That being said, I mean, any given map can have anywhere from 4 to 20 players. So they can be pretty large maps though, so it's very easy for you to go through the map and loot some stuff, extract without even seeing a player or even a scav, depending on what's going on. So this is a scav, okay? So this is going to be like these are going to look like the enemies you'll find. They have random equipment. Um, it's not scaled to your level or anything like that. Um,
That's my
you're gonna
free loot guy.
yeah, free loot.
I
They're loot
normally just
pinatas. That's basically what they are. They're loot
yeah,
pinatas,
I
right?
normally just try to extract what the shit he got on him and call it a day.
Yeah, yeah. They're gonna fuck your shit up if you're not careful though. Basically, rule of thumb is if they're in bushes or something, you can't get a line of sight, don't fuck with them. Move to a different angle. Wait until they push you. Do something. It's not even fucking worth it, dude. Because you'll like it's super easy, especially if like shotgun scavs or anything like that, to block a limb, which means you can't heal that limb anymore until you use a surgery kit. It makes it more difficult to heal, and it fucks your shit up even when you do heal it. You know what I mean? So like it can cost you it can cost you your fucking life too. So this right here, what you're seeing is a player scav. Okay, so when you choose scav, what this does is it goes to the menu just like a PMC, and you'll see people, just like you would on just like you would for PMC, except these are all player scavs. You can invite people if you want. I don't recommend joining a random look for group because you will get shot in the back of the head. Pretty much happens every time. Players do that because they're dicks. This is Tarkov. Congratulations. It's a lesson everyone will learn. Your scav will spawn at a random time in the raid. So raids, basically going into a map, is called a raid. Raids last anywhere from 20 to 60 minutes sometimes. The time of the raid will be shown at the beginning of the raid. I recommend always having a habit of pressing O. So when you go into the game, you'll see your extracts, and you will see your the time you have left in the raid. If you are not out of that raid by the time that time ends, your character will disappear. They'll be
Yeah,
called
yeah,
left,
he'll kill in
missing
the
in
action.
action, right? So
Yeah.
it'll be as if they died. You lost everything you found and everything you brought in with you. There is good news. Okay, so this player scav, the scav that I have right here is randomly generated. So I can play this guy once every 20 minutes, and it goes lower depending on your reputation with Fence, which you earn reputation by playing the scav and being nice to other scavs. If you shoot other scavs, unless they shoot you first, you lose reputation. Okay, doing nice things like extracting with PMCs or extracting using cars or even extracting in general can increase your reputation. Okay, now your reputation for scavs is represented by Fence's reputation, which at the time is
It's
what's going
locked.
on.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like different later, but this is who represents your reputation. So note that EOD, which is the edition I have, starts with zero point 0.2 reputation. So I've only gained 0.25. The zero point 0.2 still counts, so I still have 0.45 reputation, but a lot of this comes from mostly just extracting at cars, which will decrease over time. The more you do it, the less you'll get from it, and extracting in normal. So when you do get shot at by a fucking player scav, if he misses, you can't just let him kill you, right? So you gotta pop his ass back. You'll still lose some reputation from that a lot of time if he didn't actually hit you, but you'll be able to gain that back relatively easily. There are perks by leveling up him. So your scav will spawn with better gear. In addition to that, you'll have a lower cooldown on your scav. Inversely, if you have a low reputation with him, a very low reputation, what will happen is that your scavs will have worse gear, no backpacks is common and shit like that. Really garbage,
Hmm.
and so you have less to fight with. In addition to that, you'll have a much longer cooldown. Some
My
players
cooldown
don't give
right
a
now is
fuck,
just 20 minutes.
huh?
My cooldown right now is just 20
Yep,
minutes,
that's the
and
standard cooldown.
I just get
There's a module in your hideout
shotguns
called
and
Intelligence Center
pistols and
that
shit like
lowers your
that.
scav cooldown as well. We can get into a lot later, but basically that's the general overview, right? So if you go back to your again to the scav here, again he has a randomly generated kit. So it looks like he's got some decent stuff. Looks like he's got a sling on him, which isn't the best backpack. He's got a helmet with a face shield. That's unfortunately it's a pretty garbage helmet because I can tell by this what type of helmet it is. This is a class 2 helmet and a class 2 face shield. So in this game, class 2 is equivalent to a P.A.K.A., which is not very good. It's garbage, realistically. Most bullets will go through it that players ever intend to use. The only time it won't block anything is if you're lucky, as in their bullet has a low penetration chance, or they're using melee attacks for some fucking reason, or it's like for some reason they're stuck with an ammo that they would never willingly use if they had any choice. Okay. A more important thing to go over to, again, this is your gear. There's a button down here that lets you sort your stash automatically. Doing so will make it so your bags and things like that will stack kind of unevenly. So you have to Tetris it a little bit, and you can rotate things, of course. If you want to store stuff more efficiently as a player, what you can do is you can double click a weapon to bring this up. Make sure you have everything examined, of course. You can take off the pistol grip in any magazines and weapons like the M4, and you can reduce its size like this. So you see how it's like 2 by 5. If I take off the handle and take off the mag, suddenly it's a 1 by 5, and I still have these slots here, right? But I saved 2 slots, and you can do this with a lot of different weapons. Okay, you'll learn more and more as you go. Some weapons can be folded, right? So this looks like it's this size, but I can actually fold this to make it lower. Okay. Conversely, some weapons like this will there's a bug right now where it just shortens the size, where it just shortens like the size. It doesn't actually fold. Oh, they fixed that actually. That's nice. But sometimes they'll just resize the gun instead of actually like this is an example. They'll resize the gun instead of okay, I'm bad at looking like an idiot. But they'll resize the gun instead of looking like it's folded. So you can always right click and check.
Yeah, I can check.
Another thing is that the less equipment you'll start with, depending if you use like a bear, you'll have different equipment starting with, okay? You can have things like armored rigs. This is like a chest rig, okay? But you can't equip it, right? You can't equip armor and a chest rig at the same time that has armored plates on it. You can't do it. Won't let you. So it combines the benefits of an armored rig, like an armored like body armor, as well as a rig, so it lets you store stuff. This is your pouch. Anything in here at the end of a raid, or if you die, regardless, is safe. Okay. This is where you keep your keys, critical meds, and things like that. See, I have EOD, so I have a larger one. You probably have a 2x2.
Most of them, from what I see, most of the big time people just keep their keys and shit in there, right?
Yep, absolutely. There'd never be a reason to have a key you actually want to use outside your pouch, because if you die, you lose it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I just making sure. Yeah, I get you.
Another thing too is if you go into a raid and you die, anything you don't have insured and gets and anything you bring in is you lose, right? The only exception is if you have what's called insurance. Okay, so notice the yellow around here, right? Notice the yellow around the helmet.
Yeah,
this means it's insured. It has like the shield at the bottom right as well. So it's important to note that when you insure something, let's say a weapon, right? And let's say I right-click insure this, and there's another screen when you get into raid, you can also do this. I hit OK. This is insured. But if I drag this on here and I open this, you'll notice that this isn't insured. I have to insure this separately. So while you do insure a weapon, everything that's currently attached to it is insured. But if you end up with a situation where you've modded after the fact, you gotta make sure you insure the new stuff, or you'll come back with a gun that could be missing a receiver, for example, because that's not insured. They won't fucking bring it back, right? Insuring a container like this will insure all the things inside of it. It's almost always worth insuring, no matter what it is. The only exception, I think, is maybe slings. But that's like, slings themselves are worth 2,000 rubles, which is absolutely nothing, okay? If it's 2,000 USD, a different story, but 2,000 rubles, like here, the rubles, right? Absolutely nothing. You get rubles super easily. I don't know about easily, but like it's a Russian ruble, right? 2,000 isn't a lot at all. Like at all whatsoever. Like for example, under traders, a backpack you might actually want to use is 23,000 rubles. This one is like the least one I want to use, and this is 12,000 rubles, and that's pretty fucking cheap even there. You know what I mean? Body armor is 27,000 rubles. Like, so 2,000 is absolutely worthless, so I would never insure a sling. But basically, mathematically, it's always worth insuring your stuff, because even if you get it at a low rate, which is going to be a high rate because realistically, especially as you go later in the wipe and you have less valuable stuff, people aren't able to carry everything away, right? Later wipe, they're not going to want your shit because your shit's going to be garbage if you start late and you're new. If you're new wipe, people might want to take your stuff, but they're probably going to still be full with other things. They don't have that big of a backpack. This is like the standard backpack I go with if I have anything modicum worth of gear. Unless I have a backpack laying around, like a sling I picked up for some fucking reason. I never have these in inventory because they actually take up more slots than they provide, so it's a waste. But like, unless it's like a fucking, there's different kind of bags, of course, but unless it's like an MBSS or like this bag or something like that, I never really worry about using them that much. The lowest I'll typically use is a scat backpack because it's so cheap to bring in, and the stuff you can get out of per slot is usually pretty valuable. So you can get like new kit, new gear, new tools, like new meds, all kinds of things that can be useful, things that are worth money or being useful to you. So always ensure your shit. Always bring in a decently big bag. I wouldn't bring in bigger than a scat backpack unless you're bringing in gear to protect it. So at least some body armor, a rig, a helmet, some hearing because that's cheap to get too, and like an automatic gun or a powerful semi-auto gun that you're comfortable with using. Okay, and that'll be that's that in regards to that. As a new player, there's only a few things you really can do to challenge other players. Right now it's early wipe, right? So you have
Don't challenge. Yeah, right now I don't challenge nobody. My
yeah,
goal
yeah.
is just
But
to.
the
I'm
funny thing
running
is
sky.
that you'll realize a shit ton of Tarkov players are fucking potatoes, like an unbelievable amount. You know what I mean by potato?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
killed a couple of players, but it's just I can't never keep. I don't. I can't extract.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know
We'll
the
fix that.
extraction,
Don't
so
worry.
I'm new. So
We'll get you studied up on maps. The good thing to do is to focus on a map, learn the extracts, and use that to make your money. Okay. There's a few different ones that are for different kinds of people. I personally prefer customs, even though that's not really the best one. I just like the map better. I
yeah, I
hate
play
interchange,
custom.
even though it's the best one, pretty much, except for reserve.
Yeah,
Um, of course, with the new map Lighthouse, that might change. It might become the fucking best map whatsoever because there's scavs on there called raiders, or not raiders, rogues technically. They're basically raiders, which are juiced up scavs that the ones on Lighthouse aren't hostile initially to the USEC unless you get too close to them. So if you're this guy, USEC, unless you get too close to him or you shoot him, and then for the next several raids they'll be angry to you. Okay. So the number one thing I recommend doing as a new player is don't be afraid to lose your gear. Anything that's in your stash and never gets used is lost anyway. Okay. So don't be afraid to lose your gear. You can always get more. It's not a big deal. Even
I've
if you're
just been
down,
running stab. That's all I've been doing.
yeah,
I just kept
even
running
if you go
stab.
down to 1,000 fucking rubles, right? Every 20 fucking minutes, right? You get a free fucking kit. And you know what?
Yeah,
You know what's a super pro tip about it? Is if I get a fucking factory, this is a teeny tiny map, right? 15-minute max for a game. Okay? 15 fucking minute max. Okay? So I can go in there. I can literally run and be in an extract in 30 seconds. I can literally farm a free kit every 20 minutes. And also get rep because I'm extracting. And that's if I don't find any dead players, I don't find any dead scavs I can loot for free, anything like that. That's if I find nothing, I get a free kit.
that's one thing I hate because like I'm on that same kind of timing that you're on right now, but you played the game enough, so you know what you're doing. I just need to learn and like you said, read these fucking maps and get used to playing this
Yeah, dude.
game. So then
Tarkov is
I'll be
all
able
about
to.
game knowledge, man. Like, you can be good at shooting, but if you don't know where the fucking extract, it's not going to do you any good.
I hate it so much, bro.
You know
I
what I
thought
mean? Like,
I killed
if
four
you
or
don't know
five
what to fucking
like
do and your ass has a
only
heavy
with the
bleed,
scabs, like actual PNC people. Like I actually kill people, but I can't extract. So they watch me. I look so goofy,
running
just
around,
like
dude.
just
Okay, I'm gonna let you
running
know, man.
around till
I
the
was
timer
worse
run
than
out.
you starting off. You want to know why? You want to fucking know why? Because when I started the game, they just added this weird thing called offline mode. So I could go to raid offline. And they had just patched it when I started the game. You couldn't take anything out of an offline raid. Well, I didn't read the fucking patch notes, so I'm an idiot. I went to an offline raid in Factory, the teeniest, tiniest map where you can run from one into another in like 30 fucking seconds to extract. I ran across that map for 40 fucking minutes back then, like 25 to 40 minutes, something like that. In an offline raid, where even if I extracted, I couldn't keep anything. I was pissed. I was fucking raging, dude, because I'm like, where the fuck is the extract? Because I'm sitting there like, what the fuck, right? Because I'm sitting there as a new player being like, where the fuck am I supposed to go? You know, I'm like, they'll tell me where to go, right? There's like gotta be signs or like a big yellow light. It's gotta be like a fucking Skyrim check mark. You know what I'm saying? There ain't shit in Tarkov. They throw
Yeah,
you in there. They throw you to the fucking wolves every time, man. But you know what? You'll be better for it. Because now, you know what I mean? Like, it took a lot, but I'm at a point where I know pretty much every map except the brand fucking new one literally dropped like 2 days ago. Where I haven't been on that map except once because it was lagging the shit out of me. Um, you'll get there. Don't worry about it. You'll get there really easily. And that's why I created the guide exactly for people like you who have, some decent, they're not fucking complete potatoes when it comes to shooting. They're able to aim somewhat, right? But they have like the ability, they just lack the general knowledge. If, like, for example, if you read the guide, I know 80 pages is quite a bit. I wouldn't fucking read it, to be honest, and I wrote it. Um, you'll have everything you need to know to be a fucking pro in Tarkov. But you don't need most of that, realistically. All you really need to know is the very fucking basics. In the raid, where people spawn, typically, somewhat, in an area, and once you'll learn that as you go, where you spawn, where your extracts are, and then where some loot areas are, and search that general area for loot, and you'll learn what shit is there. And then you know what weapons to use, what ammo to use early on for level 1 traders. And then as you like kind of like grow up, so to speak, as you get more experience with the game, as you get higher level traders, you need to learn what those features enable you to do. Right. So next thing I'm going to go over real quick is going to be what weapons to use as a brand new player. Right. Typically, TLDR, use any gun you fucking have. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, right
Unless it's
now
like
it's
a
the MP5 and the
Oh, I
M4
love the MP5.
A1.
Unless it's like a super juiced weapon, don't fucking worry that much about like using it. You know what I mean? If it's a super juiced weapon, dude, just if you're not comfortable with it, if it literally makes you scared or whatever, do you pick it in, you don't want to lose it, fucking sell it. Dude, I killed this juicy motherfucker with like a face shield, some high end gear. I boned his ass with some 7.62 PS ammo, right? Penetrates class 3, aka his face shield. I domed his ass. I sold every fucking thing he had on him. Every fucking thing. I didn't care about it. I wasn't gonna bring that shit into a raid like this early. It's not gonna do me any good. I'm risking a shit ton of rubles, by going into a raid without equipment, but I'm not going to get enough out of it to over enough raids probably to make a real profit. So I might as well just kind of cash out on it, so to speak, and sell it. Right? That's my thought process anyway. Some people live just to go with like the highest gear all the time. So it depends. If you find it fun, more power to you. So really newbies kind of use like 2 or 3 different weapons, primarily. Right? This is all pretty much determined what you can run from prop or. Some things you want to use more often, but you may not be able to what's called sustain them, as in use them consistently every fucking raid, provided you have a decent amount of rubles.
Oh no, no, no! I lost the MP5 because the shit jammed on me and everything
Oh yeah,
else.
ain't that a bitch? You don't know how to
Yeah,
unjam it, huh?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
ain't
not
that a
I
bitch?
just let that bitch go.
So this is the
I
baby
picked up
AK.
a different gun.
This is a good weapon. What's great about this weapon is when you buy this, it'll come with 30 rounds of BP, which is decent ammo. Okay, and unfortunately, because of changes, you can only buy PRS ammo, which is absolute hot trash. So don't try to kill anyone with armor in it. If you're stuck with this ammo and a 545 AK, you're stuck with this ammo and you're fucking trying to kill somebody, just go for the legs or like the head if they have no helmet. It's the only way you're fucking killing anybody. It's good against gas, or great against gas. Incredibly cheap ammo. 46 rubles a bullet, fucking bargain. Um, there's also the PP-19. It used to be available level 1, but it was too OP, I guess, so they nerfed it. What the fuck? I don't know. It was very easy to mod, very effective. You can get it level 2 now, so it's still a good item. PPSH is kind of replaced PP-19. It's kind of a janky iron sights PP-19. Uh, its ammo is not terrible necessarily, especially early wide. You can fuck up a motherfucker with a PPSH. It's kind of fun to use too. It's very high fire rate. The Mosin is what made players cry for so long. It has received numerous nerfs because of how OP it was. It used to be 18k rubles, which was incredibly cheap, very big, so you couldn't take it in any rig. Like for example, the scav backpack wouldn't fit in the scav backpack, and it would one tap through high like class like 4 or 5 armor the chest, so it was really OP. They did nerf it somewhat less realistically. It's more expensive now, and the default ammunition doesn't one tap to the chest anymore. So a headshot with LPS GZH, which is default ammunition for the sucker, right? This is what it is. You'll notice it has some stats on it. I'll go over those in a second. This will reliably penetrate class 3 armor and class 4 most of the time from reserves. Ballistics do change every now and then. I highly recommend checking the wiki ballistics page. It's just titled ballistics. I have a chart. The chart will go over, of course, the different levels that a bullet will reliably penetrate, and it has a grid and a key telling you what levels it'll penetrate and things like that. Generally speaking, the higher penetration, the better. There are exceptions, of course. Some very fast-firing weapons that have really garbage penetration ammo have really excellent flesh ammo. So you could do alternative strategies. You're going with an uber cheap gun, like for example, infamous Keter. This motherfucker. You can go in with this gun with some flash ammo and just spray someone's legs and kill them, no matter what gear they're wearing. It's hilarious.
I seen the strat. I don't know if it's still doing it now, but I be watching the streamers and the stratas. They put like a little bit of a hollow tip or the most point at the very tip of the clip. Like at the first five
Mm-hmm.
bullets they shoot do the most. Then it's the regular basic ammo. I guess after that, is that still a thing
Yeah,
now?
some people do that. You can do that. It's
Okay.
just kind of more of a pain in the ass. There's no real loadout set up yet, so it
Yeah.
is planned where there'll be like a tab for your loadout where you can just press a button and it organize all your guns, equip your equipment instantly and shit like that. But that's not in the game yet. So if you want to
Okay.
do that, you have to do every fucking mag with it. Nowadays, what people do, especially for guns like this, right? Like for example, if I was rocking a baby AK, and you'll be able to purchase this AK for rubles once you complete a quest, and it's like the first or second quest, so it's really easy to do. Um, well, maybe like a little bit harder early because people can test the quest areas because they know what to do. Like, you know what I mean? They might cheese players that are trying to open up areas or something.
Yeah.
They'll watch out for
Yeah. I
them,
know.
being little dicks.
Yeah.
It's Tarkov, so it happens. Um, but for example, what I would do is I would save the BP as like my last mag, and if I knew a fucking player was coming, you know what I would do? I would put that mag first in my rig and then immediately reload, so I have a BP, which is the bullet the penetrating ammo. So I
That's a
wouldn't
better
waste my good
strat.
ammo on
That'll.
scavs
I
that
like that
don't
one
have
better.
armor. So if I find a player that might have like class 3 armor or anything like that, I can fuck him up with this. Um, Recoil in this game is a lot better than a lot of other games. Like for example, CS:GO, the recoil on that is so infamously terribly unrealistic. Like you fire a fucking AK in that game, and it goes all across the fucking screen, dude. It'll go everywhere. It won't hit a damn thing. Whereas an AK in this, it'll kick and it'll go to the side a little bit, but you can mostly control it. Generally speaking, if you aim for the chest and you pull down, you're gonna hit mostly the thorax. It's relatively hard to hit the head. Um, it just depends. A lot of the time, what will end up happening is you'll end up aiming for the chest as bad players, like as they do, and they'll end up headshotting you because the gun kicks up to your forehead. Well, that's just how it goes. Um, Back to the ideal weapons. The SKS is going to be your best friend. There is a white version of SKS, like right here, the OP SKS. The major difference between these is the white one supports mods, as in like a new stock, and the ability to mount a scope to it. That's the big difference. They're both semi-automatic, and they hold 10. Their internal magazine holds 10 rounds by default. There is a 30 rounder or 20 rounder magazine available for purchase that you can replace it with, and it's fed from the top, so you don't need a rig to use it. So when you don't need a rig to use it, like shotguns or the SKS in this case, what you can do is have the extra loose bullets inside your pocket, and you can reload from there instead of having like a rig on it. So it's very popular for new players and players running cheap loadouts who don't want to expense on a rig.
Yeah.
It's kind of silly
I
not
run
to.
the
That being
rig.
said, because nowadays, like for example, the cheapest rig you can find is 10 fucking K rubles. But I mean, if you got 20K in the bank, I guess that makes sense. I guess. But most people aren't there yet. Um, of course, pistols are always good. I never will ever fucking use a macro unless I have no fucking choice. It does more damage by throwing the gun at them, probably. Thing's garbage. That being said, I guess you could technically shoot someone in the face and they'll die, but I mean, it's not necessarily accurate, and it's not a great gun. The TT is like a more powerful, more accurate, better sidearm generally. It's also got a different caliber bullet, one that scales better with flash damage.
Do a lot of people run two guns? Because I don't like running two
No, no,
guns.
no,
That's
no.
just me. But
I mean, some people do, but realistically, it's probably best not to, right? Like, unless you're running something like, for example, a sniper rifle, then you might justify having like an auto pistol or even a secondary gun. But basically, the more you bring in, the more risk you have, and the less you can bring out in loot. So you have like you kind of have like a chart, right? Where your baseline is how much you're spending every raid with this particular loadout to go into a raid, and if you die, you lose that amount. At least at most percentage of the time, you get a certain percentage back via insurance, of course, and you'll get a certain, you may miss certain things and things like that, of course, that happen that with little caveats in insurance, but generally you'll get it back a certain percentage of the time. And pistols usually really cheap, but if you have like an auto pistol, like you'll be able to buy this straight up at like set level 2 or 3 trader, I forget, which is relatively easy to get once you have some experience with the game. You complete quests. It qualifies as like a valid secondary. And that's if you have a bolt action weapon that if you come across a scab because you have expensive ammo on your main weapon, or if like you get closed on by scav or a player that has like an automatic weapon, you don't want to be caught with like a very low ergo weapon. It takes forever to scope in, and then when you scope in, you see like their hair follicle, not their fucking face. In that case, yeah, you might want to bring in the secondary. Most players don't though. Most players just kind of deal with it. Um, because a lot of the time, with the way Tarkov works, is that if you notice, you have a slot in your character specifically for holsters and pistols. Most players don't bring in the pistol. So all they gotta fucking do is they see a pistol on your body, they click it, it goes in their slot, doesn't take up any inventory space, and it's free rubles for them. So that's why a lot of the
Yeah,
time you won't get your
yeah,
pistol back. But it's cheap, so no one really cares. So went over the SKS, the baby AK, the Mosin, of course, is really good. Super powerful round, of course. I prefer the infantry over the infantry carbine over the this one. However, you'll get the carbine less often in insurance, even though it's much easier to handle, in my opinion. If you'll notice, the ergonomics is 22 versus fucking 12 on this one. It's a very significant change. As well as since it's a shorter barrel, you'll find it's easier to handle in close quarters. So if you're in close quarters and you get charged by a carbine, you get one, maybe two shots to take the motherfucker out instead of just dying because he runs right into you and you push your weapon to the side like a jackass, because that's what happens. Um, all right, these are great headphones to buy. Always going with headphones if you go in with gear. Being able to hear footsteps will save your life and get you kills more times than you can possibly imagine. Um, let's see, early wipe. You want to focus on bank robbers. P.A.K.A.s are okay, I guess. They're not great, but they're good against some of the shit ammo you're forced to use. Again, with the backpacks, I would run with the Berkut, aka the Scab backpack, the 20 slot bags, most often. There's a few varieties of this. Some have different connotations. Like the pillbox, for example, has better size for its expense, but it has a limitation of being able to stack it. It's kind of weird. Some of it's unwieldy. It's just how it is sometimes. Um, let's see. Armbands aren't necessary. Sometimes I like to fuck with players by having an armband on if I'm solo. Then they might not loot me because they think a player's around. Just to fuck with them. There are of course barter trades, as you probably see in the dealers, where what we call barter items, which are also quest items and some other things. You can trade for, like for example, 2 paper for some GSSHs. Not a good trade necessarily, but when you get to higher level, some of the items you'll find that aren't available later are available now by barter. Like for example, you'll notice how there's two of the baby AK right here. It looks the same, except this one you need a horse and D cleaner. This one you can just pay for rubles. Usually the way it works is that a better weapon will be available the next loyalty level if there's a weapon right now that has it for a barter. Not always the case, it's just a general rule. Either that, it's either the next loyalty level or a quest completion. Different traders buy different things for different rates. Right now, the way it works is that mechanic generally pays the highest for pretty much everything. If he won't buy it, then generally Fence will or Prapor will. The only exception, of course, is certain items like, for example, keys. Anything with a blue background for the most part. Dog tags, which are usually used for trades, but you can sell them for cash if you want. And valuables, which have this kind of purple background. Things like Rolexes, Bitcoins, things like that, like obvious valuables, statues, and things like that will sell for the most to therapists.
I'm about to say, yeah, I have found some statues in the
Yeah.
woods when I was doing a run, but I fucking couldn't extract.
Yeah,
Shit,
we'll get
God,
you there, bro.
man.
You'll be fine. Um, we'll get you there. The extracting is honestly the easiest fucking part once you kind of learn the map, especially with the exception of maybe woods. Most maps are relatively straightforward to where you spawn. Okay, that's because most of them have large landmarks and like around where you can tell kind of where you are just by learning where that landmark is in proportion. Um, you know, and you'll just learn that through experience. And once you know kind of where you are, you'll know when you need to extract. A lot of times, if you're not sure exactly where you spawned, you'll know by the extracts you get because hey, guess what? Those extracts are usually the opposite side of the map, so you know you didn't spawn near there. So that's a pro tip too. Um, let's see. So what changed here? Grenades. You have to use G to bring them up, and you can throw them, or you can manually select them by dragging them to a pocket or a rig and dragging them down here.
So I
Um,
got a question.
mhm.
I noticed when I was playing in the beginning, I ain't never came across or watched any streamer that helped explain this for me. But I noticed when I try to, I can't break in doors. Is that something that's normal? How do you open
Hmm.
the door? Like it says
Keys.
break in or breach in.
Keys.
I
If
try
you
to do
breach
it.
and it doesn't work, very few doors can be breached that can't be opened. I only know of one, and that is the breach door in factory, third floor factory, the main building. There's a room called breach room. It's a room you have to breach because it won't open normally. Every other
Okay,
door
so the
that's like
door I
that,
was trying to breach, and I basically needed a key for it.
you need a key for it. Yep. A
Basically.
lot of
Okay,
loot in this
gotcha.
game is hidden behind keys. You'll find keys are incredibly valuable, which
I
is
was like,
why,
why
like
the
I
fuck I
said, you
can't
never
kick
let
this damn
keys leave your
door
fucking
open?
gamma.
I was like, the fuck, man, I can't kick this damn door open. Me and my buddy was sitting there trying to kick it over. Like, bro, I
Being like,
guess
am
I
I
just
not
need
strong
the
enough? You
key,
know what I'm
bro. I
saying?
don't fucking
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
don't.
They are gonna add lockpicking as a feature eventually. We don't know exactly how it's gonna work, but supposedly it's gonna work eventually. Um,
That'd be cool if it's something like Fallout. Shit, I'll do it.
Shit, right?
I mean,
Now, another thing, health system. Okay, so do you know how the health system works so far?
yeah, I know how to heal. Yeah, I know how to heal. Yeah.
Okay, so in case you didn't know, all your limbs can die, but as long as if your thorax and head go black for bullet damage, you die. Now they can go
Yeah.
black and you can still live, only if it's from bleed and the bleed stops. So if you have a black head and black thorax, any damage whatsoever, no matter how small, to those limbs again, and you instantly die. And the sad thing is
Last
your
game I
head and
went
thorax
about.
are the only parts that cannot be surgery kitted. So things like CMS kit, which you can drag on a black limb to repair it after, it takes 16 seconds to use. And you can't cancel it and you can't move around when you use it, right? It takes 16 seconds to use. So you're vulnerable and it's pretty fucking loud. So you know exactly what you're doing if you use it in combat. Um, what happens is that it'll help it'll heal the wound back up to where you can heal it with normal medical items, but it'll have reduced HP. The quality of the kit and your surgery skill, which is a soft skill that we went over,
Ain't that why
will
you just pop a painkiller and you just get on and get up out of there?
yeah, painkillers will mitigate the symptoms of black limbs. It will, however, not stop death from a black chest and a black head if you take further damage to those limbs. However, if you have, like, say, a black arm, what'll happen is you'll, like, shake your arm and things like that. And if you get hit in the arm again, it'll redistribute the damage across your entire HP pool. That's why legging people works. So if you shoot that motherfucker in the leg enough times, he'll die. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some items are able to remove bleeds, some aren't. This item, as you probably have seen, is an item that is given to new players in their stash. As you notice, it cannot reduce bleeds. Radiation exposure is not currently in the game, though it is planned. Whereas the Carbonical kit, the next kit you're most likely to use more often after request, can remove bleeds. However, it does have an HP cost, as it says here. So the total amount of HP reduces by 50 when it removes a bleed. Okay. So if you're down to like 1 HP and you have a bleed, it'll remove like 59 for the for the healing, and then remove like another 50 for the stop the light bleed. Now there are two types of bleeds: light bleeds and heavy bleeds. They require different kinds of medical items to heal. Like bandages and these kinds of things will remove light bleeds, whereas it takes a tourniquet, and that's March, to remove a heavy bleed. Or similarly, where do I have it? Down here somewhere maybe. Do I have one? Weird. Oh, I thought I had one. Anyway, certain kits like IFAKs and even Sluas, depending on the type of kit, will be able to stop multiple different things. The Big Daddy kit is a Grizzly. As you can see, I have one in my stash, not my stash, my pouch. So I can remove fractures, light bleedings, contusion, lots of different stuff. Fractures can only be removed by splint of certain types, either a loo or a regular splint. You can, however, run on a fractured limb. You will take damage if you have painkiller. Same thing with a black leg. If you don't have painkillers, which I always recommend you carry some in your container at least, then you cannot run or move on a black leg. You can only limp and walk, which is
Yeah, I
very
keep
fucking slow.
painkillers on me. I'm a big fan of healing later and running away now. So I
Yeah,
use the
right. You know what I
painkillers a
mean?
lot.
Yeah. Your style. I mean, you're probably classed what's called a rat, which is a motherfucker that ambushes some bitches and then takes all their shit that they worked hard for. But you know what? If you die to a rat, it's probably your fucking fault. So, people that complain about it can bitch in the comments. I don't care.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
I just died of goofy shit. I just
Yeah,
can't
dude. Welcome to
extract
Tarkov.
so time runs
Okay.
out.
So that's that. Oh yeah. Here's an example of a multi-use thing that stops bleeds. Okay, and they're balanced by their cost, their availability, their rarity, um, and use times and things like that. You can quick bind meds, like for example, like that to that, and just use it from your inventory or your thing. If it's in here though, if it's in the bag, you cannot quick bind it. You have to open your inventory and then use it manually. Okay, so keep that in mind. You can also do things like pre-medding. Like, for example, if you're running across an open field, you know some motherfucker's going to shoot at you. What if he gets your leg block and you stop running? Well, that's bad. So someone might decide, hey, I'm going to pop a painkiller real quick, so if I do get shot, I can keep running. I may take a little bit of damage from the run, but at least I won't die. You know, because you're much more likely to die if you're being shot at in the middle of a field with a broken leg than you are anything else. You know what I'm saying? There are, of course, injectors, which have different effects. You don't really need to know that much about them right now. They're kind of like outside your wheelhouse right now. Once you get a bit more experience, you might want to consider carrying things like propofol in your container for emergencies, because it has like special effects like regeneration and things like that. But it's not that big of a deal right now. There is a certain caveat with the augmentin. As you know, there are cultists in this game, which are basically special enemies that spawn at nighttime on certain maps, and they can hit you with what's called a poison dagger. The poison, the toxicity, can kill you over time. It does enough to actually kill you very easily. So augmentin is one of the very few items that can remove the poison, okay, beyond the special antidote injector, okay. So use this and it'll remove the toxicity so you don't die. Beyond that, most players just have to heal through it or exit the raid before they fucking die. So, you know, that's fun. Yeah, beyond that, there's different types of loot. There's the barter items like this. There's different things that are requirements for different things. Like propane, for example, is required for certain things, but it's mostly just used for the trade that it offers. So if I remember correctly, one of these items that's used for propane, I forget what it is. I know
Wait,
it's
so you
good
need to
though.
get that in order to trade and get stuff that you want?
Hmm?
The propane tank, you actually need to get that in order to get stuff that you want from a vendor, or
Yeah, like for example, you notice how this MPX here, it's a decent weapon. Notice how it has certain dog tags. It needs dog tags and it has to be a certain level. For example, this, right? This is the backpack. He'll offer to sell it to me for a hard drive. Or for this one for a hard drive and a DVD.
dude, I fucking ran past. I mean, it didn't matter. I died because I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
extract. But I ran past a fucking propane tank. I thought that was just some bullshit.
No, I mean you can actually loot quite a bit. I forget what it's for. There's a fucking item that's good. I
Oh, I
forget.
could have got that vest. Wait, what's that vest? How many trophies? Oh, I had both of them bitches.
Yeah, you can get this.
Oh
This is a
man,
class 3 armor, so it's actually pretty good. As you
man,
notice, like different armor have different class armor points, repairability, and things like that. For armor, the CLDR is that you don't want to keep using an armor that's way too low when it's maximum durability. So, for example, if its maximum is say 50, if it gets down to like fucking 20, don't use it anymore because the lower it is, the less effective it is. So you might have class C armor normally, but if it's down to like super low durability, it's effectively not class 3. It's like class 2. It just gets penetrated super
can you
easily.
go to your can you go to your hideout and fix it?
You can go to your what you can do if you go to your character is you can right click something, repair it, offer to repair it. So there's different people who repair it, but usually you just want to use prapper unless it's a very expensive item, like for example Ford armor. You might use mechanic because he has a higher repairability but a much higher cost. Typically it's better just to prapper, okay. And you just want to hit repair, and what it will do is it will take a certain amount. So notice how it's 42.6 out of 50. But repair, it's 46.5 out of 46.5. The maximum durability decreased. Every time you repair, there's a cost to your maximum durability, and then it increases to the new maximum. The true max is still 50, so you know it's only like something like do the math, like 95% effective as it was, whatever. But it's P.E.K.K.A, so not a big fucking deal, right?
Gotcha.
You know, whereas this is like class 4, so if it's down to half durability, it might be only worth a class 2 or 3. You know, no one's sure on the complete math, but the idea is don't let it get down too low for you know toss it. That's the general idea. There is on the wiki, there's pages that show you items you might want to keep and hoard for different quests and things like that. At the moment, early on, what you really want to hoard is morphine. You need 3 of those. Let's see, morphine, saluas. You'll need some of those. You'll need 3 of these for a quest. You'll need things like toothpaste and different things like that for the hideout. I'll go to the hideout next. Okay, I went over pretty much most of the stuff here. I think different
Yeah, you
raids
went
and
through pretty much everything. Yeah.
so the hideout is a whole different beast. So as you'll notice, there's different modules. I have quite a bit built. As an EOD, I get 4 stash for free, so I get the max stash. As a standard player, you get the joy and pride of paying for it yourself in game. So this, for example, has been built to level 1. If you're level 2, it has new requirements. Okay. So it takes quite a bit, and also has other requirements like illumination level 1. Okay. So it takes certain things to build.
Is the hideout important or no? Because
Yeah, the hideout's pretty important. It allows you to craft, for example. Like, for example, this, I could craft 2 scab backpacks. Or I could craft armor, or I could craft bandages. I could craft all kinds of different stuff. And the more higher level you get, the more things are available and the more useful they are. The workbench is absolutely critical to have because it allows you to mod your weapons. Without it, you can't modify your weapons very easily. You just can't do it. A lot of these can be sold on the flea market for profit. Depends on what it is. Some of these, the most important thing is, like for example, the capacitors later on in the game, you'll need these for a quest, and they have to be what's called found in raid. So unless you find it in a raid and you extract successfully with it, it doesn't fucking qualify. Unless you craft it, then it's considered found in raid. So if I need fucking wires for a quest, guess what? I can just craft this bitch. I can buy this off the flea market, craft this, and turn it into the guy for money. You know what I mean? And for rep and whatever, right? Whatever reward he offers. And that's like a primary way you get stuff. Like, for example, Saluas. Kind of a pain in the ass to find, but guess what? You can craft them with these materials. And most of these you can buy, with the exception of this, I believe. You can craft a Salua, okay? And you have to have the generator on to do that, which I forgot to turn off because I'm an idiot. And you can craft different materials and all kinds of different useful stuff. And each module, as you craft, has different passive benefits. So, for example, with this one, I'll have increased energy regeneration out of raid, increased water generation, increased resting bonuses, all kinds of different stuff. So it's really good to upgrade your hideout. It's also the main initial money stream, but it will make you money eventually. So it will turn a profit. Okay. Any other questions?
Hell no, man. I mean, you broke down the weapons and the armors and stuff and the health, and you showed me all the shit that I need to go look for. I know right now I'm on that mission right now where you have to get those little Sylvie packs or whatever you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the
Saluas?
little hills and yeah, the Salua packs.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah. Good thing. Make sure you always go to your traders. If there's a quest available, whether operational or not, there'll be a green check mark on them, and they'll have tasks. Some of them will look like this, where it's temporary. That's kind of new. Others will be like this, where it's static and it exists forever.
yeah, mine's is existing
Yeah,
forever
these
right
are
now.
great because sometimes what they'll do is also offer rep as well. So it's a way later on for you to increase your trader rep without necessarily without necessarily having to worry about doing some of the really AIDS quests that come on later. Some of the quests in Tarkov are
Yeah.
really like they kind of suck.
It's like
The
I'm
flea
telling
market.
everybody, like, I'm in a good position right now because everybody's trying to play and do certain tasks and shit. I'm like, bro, I don't have tasks right now. I just
Hmm.
need to play and get experience to get tasks. like,
Yeah, you'll always
like,
have
I'm
tasks
like,
even from
man,
debut. You probably have debut, right? But like for example, the flea market looks like this, except once you get level 15, as it says, you'll be able to go on the flea market and actually bid and buy stuff, and sell on the flea market as well. Um, all right, I think I covered just about everything with the exception of ammunition. Generally speaking, the reason you want to go SKS is because of this ammo right here. Pretty much the best you can do for right now.
is that the hollow? This is the best. I mean,
7.62
you can get.
39 PS ammo.
Okay, gotcha.
Again, if you ever wonder whether or not it's useful, check the chart. It'll tell you what it penetrates. Generally speaking, find the ammo you can purchase from a trader. The best ammo you can purchase from a trader that'll penetrate the most armor. That's usually the way to go.
So
Certain
far, I got
ones, there are
my
caveats, of
ammo has
course,
the
again,
green
flash damage,
tips.
stuff like that. But you learn that as you go.
I got ammo with green tips right now, so
Yeah, tracers.
let's
Sometimes they're
right,
good,
right
sometimes they're
there in the
bad. Just
middle.
depends on the
So
ammo. Oh, pro tip for new players: knives. So these you find in every scav will have a knife, one of these two. Okay, you go to Peacekeeper, just like a barter trade. If you go to MP5, he'll trade you an MP5 with a mag in it with ammo for 8 of these knives, or an UMP for 7 of these knives. So basically, if you kill a few scavs and you just take their knife, and as you notice, as a PMC, I don't have something in my sheet. So whenever I kill one, I can just equip it. And guess what? Whenever you die, this stays here. It's like a pouch. It stays in your inventory. You can take it. So even if I die, I get 1 knife guaranteed if I kill a scab or find a scab with it on him. And then every so often, I get a free gun.
So basically, you just saying don't leave knives, just take knives if anything.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like they're relatively
Everything
low value
everything
and they're
has
easy
a
to get.
reason. So
So, I
even
mean,
that knife has a
don't leave them
reason.
for something that's good.
Yeah.
You know, so keep that in mind as well. All right, well, this will be it for the YouTube video, and thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.